MLB Trade Deadline 2025. Big questions for every AL team. The burning questions every American League team must answer before the trade deadline expires. With just 5 hours remaining until MLB's trade deadline slams shut, here are the most critical dilemmas facing each American League franchise as the clock mercilessly ticks down. AL East. Baltimore Orioles. Just how extensive will their roster overhaul become? The Orioles have already dispatched 3 bullpen arms and a third baseman, yet their squad remains packed with players heading toward free agency. Could we witness a mass exodus involving Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Cedric Mullins, Zach Eflin, Tomoyuki Sugano, and Charlie Morton all finding new homes? And what about Trevor Rogers with his valuable extra year of team control? But here's where it gets interesting. Is this a strategic rebuild or simply asset management? Boston Red Sox. Can Craig Breslow redeem himself after last year's deadline debacle? During his rookie season leading baseball operations, Breslow orchestrated several ill-conceived deadline acquisitions that failed to keep Boston competitive. While these moves didn't sacrifice major assets, they utterly flopped, and the Red Sox missed postseason action entirely. So far this deadline, he's secured swingman Steven Matz and continues hunting for starting pitching and first base help. The burning question remains. Will Breslow finally make the kind of impact move that propels Boston into October baseball? Many fans are skeptical. But could this be his redemption story? New York Yankees. Should the Bronx Bombers dive headfirst into the relief pitcher market? The Yankees moved proactively to shore up their infield weaknesses and added right-handed outfield depth, but their bullpen remains conspicuously vulnerable. Some of this deadline's most significant transactions have involved closers changing uniforms. Will the Yankees join this high-stakes bidding war, essentially attempting to correct their off-season Devin Williams acquisition that hasn't panned out as expected? The championship aspirations of baseball's most storied franchise might hang in the balance. Tampa Bay Rays, is an infielder departure imminent? The Rays have already executed a catcher swap and leveraged their pitching depth by sending Zach Littell to Cincinnati. They're actively exploring trading closer Pete Fairbanks. However, the more intriguing possibility looms. Might they part with either second baseman Brandon Lowe or first baseman Yandy Diaz? Both players fill positions where market options are particularly scarce, potentially commanding premium returns. This could be the unexpected move that reshapes the deadline landscape. Toronto Blue Jays. What final piece would transform them into the American League's undisputed powerhouse? The Blue Jays have reached the deadline tied for MLB's best record. They've climbed to the AL East summit, with Fangraphs calculating their playoff probability at an impressive 95.9%, with a 7.3% chance of winning it all, ranking 7th across baseball and 4th in the American League. After already securing starter Shane Bieber and reliever Seranthony Dominguez, can Toronto make one more blockbuster addition that elevates them from contender to favorite throughout the American League? And this is the part most people miss. Sometimes the final piece isn't the biggest name, but the perfect fit. AL Central, Chicago White Sox. How substantial a return can Adrian Houser command? After being scratched from his scheduled start earlier this week, Houser appears destined for the trading block as teams scramble for rotation reinforcements. But what's the market value for his remarkable breakout campaign? Houser has posted a stellar 2.10 ERA across 11 starts with Chicago, representing career best performance, though he did show flashes of brilliance with Milwaukee back in 2021. In a market still flush with starting pitching options, how much leverage do the White Sox truly possess for a pitcher enjoying such a dramatic performance spike? Could this be a case where recency bias drives up his value beyond reasonable expectations? Cleveland Guardians, what would convince them to part with Stephen Kwan? If Shane Bieber was expendable, why not Kwan? Certainly, Kwan's younger age and additional control years enhance his value in a marketplace starved for offensive impact. Guardians supporters understand the team's rebuilding reality. Trading Kwan represents another emotional hurdle, especially following the Emmanuel Clase situation and Bieber's departure. But might a desperate contender present an offer too compelling to refuse, accelerating Cleveland's rebuild timeline? The philosophical question becomes whether to maximize present assets or preserve fan goodwill. Detroit Tigers, are they prepared to make a truly transformative acquisition? The Tigers secured back-end starter Chris Paddock early, essentially replacing injured Reese Olson, and subsequently added several veteran middle relief options. However, Detroit hasn't enhanced their roster in the manner expected from a team that briefly boasted baseball's best record this season. They've acquired Kyle Finnegan, a middle-tier closing option, but is a major upgrade forthcoming? Or are the Tigers simply fortifying their depth for a sustainable playoff push? Their approach suggests caution. But is that the right strategy for a franchise starved for postseason success? Kansas City Royals, what exactly is their strategic direction? With a sub-500 record and Fangraphs assigning them just 12.4% playoff odds.